Enthusiasm, it's contagious. When I sat down to talk with Shai Stern, his enthusiasm, his love of life, his love of success in business, of building companies and then just flipping them and starting new companies was only paralleled by his incredible, deep, amazing enthusiasm for Judaism and for Jewish people. Find out Shai's fascinating journey this week on Jewish Grit. Welcome to Jewish Grit. This week on Jewish Grit, we have a really special treat. We have a wonderful, amazing human being, all the way from Monsey, New York. Shai Stern, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
This is the first time we actually met and we chatted before, and I'm seeing a lot of great things I like about you. Share with me a little bit, in like 90 seconds, your journey. Like, where did you grow up? Where'd you learn? What did you do? How'd you get into the professional world and where you're at today?
Okay, so that's not going to be in 30 seconds, but
I'm trying to limit you here.
I've been blessed. Just in a journey that makes no sense. So I dropped out of Yeshiva University. I did go to college. I really didn't have any interest. I couldn't sit still, preferred shoveling snow or working with my father than jewelry business. And I loved selling and cultivating relationships. So I got an opportunity. The dean of my high school, the Rosh Yeshiva, his name was Rabbi Chaska Lichtman in Torah Academy. And he introduced me to the Garfunkel family, who gave me my first opportunity. And I worked at American Stock Transfer for a couple of years. And then I worked in the business that they acquired called ASD Stock Plan and learned a lot about the way plumbing and services worked for publicly traded companies. So in 2002, myself and my partner, really a brother of life, Seth Farbman and I, we co-founded a company called Vintage Filings to compete in the SEC filing, Edgarizing, printing space, and had a great time building it. We grew it in 5 years to 5,000 clients. And then we sold that business to PR Newswire's parent company called United Business Media. And then we said, what's next? And then we met with another good friend of ours called Isaac Muller, who had a small incorporation company in 3 states. It was called The Incorporator, and we said, let's partner up together. We'll get it to all 50 in less than 60 days. And then we built that business. It was all just amazing how things unfolded. We built that, we sold that to Walters Kluwer. Then we went into the background check business, and that was a moment where we called up on the same client, said, hey, we now want to go into this solution. And they go, okay. And we got a great young guy who I knew was older brother. So Aryeh Rudman was living in LA. And we said, hey, could you come here and be our sales guy? And then he did a great job. Then he became the CEO. And the business was literally on a great trajectory. And then COVID came. The business, was like 90% down. And we thought we were in a lot of trouble. That was a great moment. I thought at the same time I was running another company called CheckVault that I ran for 15 years. I was in the payments business. So when these words were coming out about an essential business, PPP money, I had 2 businesses that were about to fail. And while I've been seriously lying in bed sick as a dog, my wife was giving me a Camelback to drink out of because I couldn't lift my head, praying that my breathing would stay well. We had to climb out of that. And then Baruch Hashem, thank God, just amazing bounces and friendships that just evolved and people that showed up to help. And then both businesses, continued to go. And then I left CheckVault in this past August after 15 years with a burning desire to open another business. And I looked at it and I said, this process of finding a solution, being narrow and saying, I can do Edgarizing, go get it, and then build it, sell it, and do it again, and these different things. Well, today, with great technology and a great technologists, great developers, you can build an AI platform where entrepreneurs and SMBs can come and they can buy 7, 8 different solutions out of the plumbing, the orchestration of their business, and they can focus on selling. So a great friend of mine from the fintech space, Jeremy Balkan, who runs a company called Today Pay, we were meeting up and he goes, I got a great guy for you, Alicia Herman, great Jew, lives in Parkland, Florida. And we met up and Alicia was working technology, marketing tech at HSBC for a dozen years. And we connected and we partnered up and we're now building a company called Gotavi, Gotavi. And the way that name came up, and then I'll take my 30-second pause, the way that the name came up is the funnest thing of all. My kids, we were sitting on the table chatting about the name on the family chat, and the kids said, well, Pops, you always say, let's go, but you got to have a go in there. And then others were saying, well, the other companies were called V Filings, V Corp, V Stock, V Check, put a V in there. I'm like, V Go, like what am I going to, it didn't sound right. Then I woke up in the morning and I go, wait 1 second. Go means hishtadlus, it means effort. That's our job. We got to get up in the morning, we got to go hustle, we got to go to work. But Tavi, I said, means bring forth. So I said, look, at 51 years old, I said, one thing is incredibly clear. You could work and you could be unsuccessful. You could barely work and you can be successful. The results are all up to the boss upstairs. So I said, look, I'll do my shtalis. That's the goal. I'll do my efforts. But Tavi, I got to pray to Hashem upstairs. He's going to bring forth the blessing onto the business. So we went with that, and that's the name of the company.
And here I am thinking that Go Tavi is like some technology term or something like that.
That's it. And we advertise that publicly on our website, that this a Jewish combination of two words. And actually today's daf discusses about how words come together. So it's interesting how we just came up with that, popped in. And
are you not concerned to advertise like your Jewishness on your company?
I love being a Jew. It's who I am. I advertise it. I write on my LinkedIn profile, grandson of Holocaust survivors and proud uncle of Jewish soldiers. So I am as proud to be a Jew, and I wear it all out there. It was actually interesting. We were in Israel October 7th, and when we came back, I, like all years, I would go straight from Sukkot, and I'd go now to this great fintech event in Vegas called Money 2020. And I've been going there for all these years, and I walk into the conference, wear my yarmulke, and all my friends, colleagues in the industry, they seem to go, Shai, we feel so bad. The right words that people are saying about what's going on in Israel. And I looked at them and I go, I appreciate your concern, but let me tell you a little secret. They go, what's that? I said, let me tell you the end of the movie. They go, what's that? I said, Jews win. And they go, what do you mean by that? I said, well, Jews win. Look at history. We're not going to lose. So there might be a lot of pain, and there has been tremendous pain over these last couple of years. And over our history, there's been tremendous pain. I said, but we're not going anywhere, and we're going to win.
It sounds like, in a good way, you're all over the place. One business, the next business, and probably thinking in the back of your mind, what's my next move? That's probably how you live your life. Has your definition of success changed, like from when you were just starting out, working for that initial company, and then doing stuff on your own, and then moving to the West Coast, and then coming back? Like, is that part of your journey of success, of what you need to be successful, or has that just been a static type of success is success, and I'll just plug in the pieces?
I love the question. I've been incredibly blessed by having great rabbis around me the last 20 plus years. Two, early on, when Seth and I started Vintage Filings in 2002, I had an opportunity to hear Rabbi Ephraim Waxman speak. He's a rabbi in Monsey, where I live now. He's a Rosh Yeshiva. He's an incredibly well-known speaker, and incredibly dynamic. And he came out to the 5 towns to speak as a benefit for someone's health. Was going through a tough time, and I went to go hear him. And I had known of him because when I went to camp years ago, sleepaway camp in Manavu, he was like a legendary figure that would come as a youngster. So I went to go hear him speak, and I was blown away. Just a couple of weeks later, we were living in Cedarhurst in the 5 towns, and my wife's great aunt passed away, and her grandfather, living in Monsey at the time, was sitting Shiva. So she goes, we got to go out to Monsey. And I said, look, if we're going to go to Monsey, I just want to make 2 stops. I want to go to the Skver Rebbe to get a bracha, the grand rabbi of the Skver Hasidim. And 2, I want to meet this Rabbi Waxman. I heard him speak. I was so inspired. So my wife and I cold called the yeshiva. I'm a really good cold caller. And today the world has shifted. A lot of folks don't even know what cold calling is, but called the yeshiva, and his right-hand guy, his name is Moshe Nussen, spoke in Yiddish, not a word of English. And today I can get along rather well in Yiddish, but at that moment I was struggling, so my Yiddish was probably worse than his English, but we were able to communicate that I wanted to meet the rabbi, and my wife and I went down to meet Rabbi Waxman in his home, and I asked Rabbi Waxman the following question, and I think this is probably the most pivotal question of my entire life. I asked Rabbi Waxman, I said, look, I know the right thing is for me to go ahead and to learn Torah every single day, and I know that I have to, and I know that I want to, I just don't know how to go do it. So he said to me, he goes, I don't know what you could afford at this time, but when you go back home to the 5 towns to Cedarhurst, make some phone calls and find out who is the number 1 Talmud Chacham, who is the number 1 Torah scholar in your neighborhood, and call him and say, I want to learn with you every single day, 7 days a week. Tell me what time works for you. You got to work it out. And how much can I pay you? And you got to pay him. You got to be invested in him because you seem to be a guy who cares about being successful financially. And 2, he needs your money. And so therefore he's going to be invested in you. And you're going to benefit because you're tapping into someone who's sitting in yeshiva, who's growing in Torah. At that moment, I took that advice. Now, there are many pieces of advice over my life I didn't take, but the blessing of that one was I actually listened to it.
So it's so interesting to see how you have this incredible appetite and passion for building businesses, but you also have a huge appetite for studying Torah. Give us what you learned, just one nugget of what you learned about raising healthy children.
So it's a work in progress. It's a real work in progress about how do you work with your children, how do you understand them, and how do you don't expect them to do the things that you do. Meaning, I'm a very rigid, regimented guy, and I love being productive. Now, that productivity doesn't typically match the mind or the behavior of a teenager, especially today, and it doesn't necessarily match a young married person, because the man that I am today at 51 was not the man that I was at 20, 30, 40. So being able to say, well, they're kids. And I was once a kid as well, and my father gave me a lot of rope, held me to a very strict standard, but I had a lot of rope. And then how do you try to be a little bit more patient? And my kids they're number one, they're more or less very similar, but they all have their unique, beautiful qualities. And I have an oldest daughter who's 29, my youngest is 17. I can't say there's much in common between the two of them, except their both last name is Stern. I mean, they were raised literally 12 years apart. So the differences in the different challenges of a 17-year-old today are different than one who was 29 and was raised in LA. It's just a different life. But I'm trying to be slower. I'm trying to be more accepting. I'm trying to not be demanding that what I do. And then a lot of times what I've been taught is that sometimes when you take a step back, they actually fall into line by them seeing the model of what you're trying to structure for them and what you're trying to teach them.
Talk to us about who Shai Stern is in relation to Am Yisrael, the Jewish people.
I love every Jew, and that's something that I am very proud of. To me, I love Jews that are secular. I love Jews that are in Israel, which is unfortunately, it is a very polarizing environment. I tell my friends in Tel Aviv who are secular, I said, I love you. And I tell my friends who are Hasidim in Yerushalayim, I love you. And if you come to our weddings and our simchas, you got those who are non-religious, you have those who are modern Orthodox, and you have those who are Hasidim. And then we all hold hands and we all dance together. So I love the Jewish people. I always have. And I've been blessed to be able to help out in a variety of ways. And I love doing it. And I always daven to Hashem that I could do more. At times you have to balance as to the right order of who you're helping out with. And that's an art and a science that evolves with time as you ask questions, especially as, someone like me that I fight impulses. So I don't think too much about whether I should give this amount or that amount. I usually give more than I should. I don't regret it, just who I am. The Jewish people, I tell my friends, I say, you can't tell me a negative word about our people, any one of them. Our Jewish people are we're the most beautiful nation, the most beautiful community. It's fascinating. I was recently, for entertainment purposes, my wife and I, we went to Rockland Kosher on a Saturday night before Purim.
It's like a big kosher grocery store.
It's a big kosher grocery store in Monsey, where 100% of their clientele are Hasidic. 100%. And I love the energy. It's before Purim, and it was a Saturday night. I said, I literally just want to go there to see just like how the Jewish people get ready for this Yom Tov. It's amazing. So my wife and I go there, and I said to my wife, I said, you know what's amazing? This place is completely Hasidic. That means that, say 60, 70% of them are not producing an income. They're not working. And they're
studying Torah, teaching, whatever.
They're not professional business people in the way that we would define it. But yet 100% of them are online, and 100% are walking out with groceries. And then you wonder, how is that? And then you go to Israel and you go, how is it that our people have hospitals, medicine, technology, Torah, the amount of giving, that our people naturally give? My good rabbi Meir Yedid, just put out with a new book called The Power of the Giver.
Yes.
The book is so inspiring, and his classes every single morning are so inspiring to go out and to say that life's not about us. My father was the most giving human being I ever met. Wasn't a wealthy man. What he had, he gave. What he didn't have, he gave. And he gave of his time. He gave endless time. He had a 24/7 job to listen to people, to give love to people. I'll tell you, when my grandfather passed away, who was the hero of my life, my grandfather, my Zaidi, was the hero of my life. And this story resonated with me. I'll never forget it. And my grandmother is sitting Shiva. It was the first time in my life that I experienced loss. I was 17 years old, and it was so shocking. And a woman comes in to pay a Shiva visit to my grandmother. And my grandmother goes, I'm sorry, I don't recognize you. And she goes, no, you might, but you might not. But she says, I don't know if you remember, you and your husband would come down to Miami Beach to go to the Crown Hotel. It was one of the hotels back in the day.
Of course.
And one day when you stepped away from the table, your husband said to me and said, I was your waitress. I was your server. And your husband, so my Zaidi, said to this girl and said, are you Jewish? And she goes, of course. And he says, well, what school do you go to? And the girl says, I go to public school. And he goes, well, why don't you go to a Jewish day school? And she said to my guy, I can't afford it. My mother can't afford it. Her mom was a single mom, whatever it was, and can't afford it. And my grandfather said to her, I was there witnessing this story. And she says, your husband, your grandfather said, if I pay for you to go to Jewish high school, would you go? And she goes, I'll go tomorrow morning. And he looked at her and he said to me, I'm taking care of your tuition. Now, my grandmother never knew that. My father, nobody knew that story. And this woman flew in from Miami Beach to pay a Shiva visit to tell us that now no, I'm married to Orthodox kids, because your husband, your grandfather, changed my life. Those stories, they go into your soul. And when you just go to Israel or any Jewish community and you see what's going on before any holiday, the pride that we need to have about our people is it's magical.
I love the energy and I love the love. It's really special to see that, and I think we don't appreciate it enough. We need to take time just to reflect about it and think about how special we are. We have challenges but at the end of the day, we're amazing.
We are the most incredible people. 2 years after October 7th, we went back to Israel for Purim. So in Yerushalayim, so we're going to have the day of Shushan Purim in Yerushalayim. And the day before, we were in Israel, and my 3 girls said to me at the time, my 3 single girls, and they go, let's go to Bnei Brak, on the Purim, let's celebrate Purim Bnei Brak. I said, that's fine, we can go there. Before we go to Bnei Brak, we're going to go to Tel El Shomer Hospital. And they said, what's that? I said, well, it's a hospital for the wounded Israeli Chayalim. We have to go there. We're going to go. They go, do you know anybody there? I said, I don't know anybody there. They go, so why are we going? I said, because they are our brothers and our sisters. So we went to the bakery. We bought trays of ragalach, of pastries. We went down to Tel El Shomer Hospital, and we walked in. And they go, why are you here? And I said, because you're our brothers and sisters. We want to bring you Mishloach Manot, it's Purim. And we spent a couple of hours there. It was unbelievable.
You have a microphone in front of you and potentially a message that could reach 70 or 80,000 of our students and young professionals across the globe, people who are trying to figure out how to live their lives and what are the best things they could do. If you have 90 seconds to tell them something, what would you want to tell them?
3 messages. Number 1, love being a Jew. Just love being a Jew and what it all stands for. And know how much Hashem loves you. That is number 1. And work to what that actually means. What it means to love being a Jew and how much our boss upstairs, how much Hashem actually loves each and every one of us in infinite ways. 2, when it comes to business, hustle. Go out there and work. We didn't talk about business.
I know.
And I love working. And I dislike wasting time. And know that if you feel you are talented, know that your talent is that much greater. And if you feel you're struggling to find out what your talent is, just go. Don't let anything or anybody or any inner hold you back, because as you go and as you put forth efforts, the boss upstairs has endless capability to bless you in avenues that you never could have dreamt of. 3, when things go hard for you, just know that Hashem is pushing you to work on yourself to be better. Hashem is our forever loving Father. He doesn't do bad, he doesn't want bad, he doesn't give bad. He only wants to give good. So when there is a challenge in life, and we're all going to have them, nobody will escape a challenge. I have them, I had them, I will have them. That's just life. But when you have them, know that the greatest ability that you will have is to go to the source. There's one address, there's one Hashem, there's great books, and there's great rabbis, and there's great lessons. And to go tap into it, because then you'll see one day and you say, I got out of that one. And where I ended up was so much better than I could have ever have dreamt.
Wow, Shai, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks
for your energy.
It's an
Thanks
honor.
for the messages. I think anyone who watches this is going to be blown away. So thanks for taking time out of your very busy schedule, because you're a doer, for coming here
This is important.
and contributing.
It's an honor.
Thank you for listening to Jewish Grit, an Olami Mentorship podcast. At Olami Mentorship, we believe that everyone needs a mentor. What better way is there to tap into your personal and professional potential than with a Jewish mentor at your side? Learn more at olami.org/mentorship. Don't forget to keep listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.